Good evening, folks, and welcome back to yet another episode of South of the Cheddar Curtain. As always, it's your boy Devin Hine. Sitting across the table from me is Mr. Luke Mueller. If you want to say hi to the folks, Luke.
Hello, folks.
And we are back after a not the prettiest win of the season for the Packers.
No, definitely not the kind of 40-0 blowout I was hoping for, but I'll take it.
17-0 victory over, I'll say, the rival Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, definitely rival. I despise the Sea Chickens.
That is something that Luke and I definitely have in common. This game, although I felt like we had it in hand, there's always going to be those shades of the 2014 title game, right? Where you feel like we have it, and you're just waiting for Russell Wilson to scramble out of the pocket, find somebody open downfield, and slowly but surely rip our hearts from our chests.
Yeah, just have some wild shenanigans and maybe be aided by the refs, Fail Mary, or anything like that, right?
Good reference.
Thank you. But really, part of that anxiety for me came from the fact that we didn't really pull away till the very end. I mean, this was a one-score game for a very long time.
It was 3-0 at halftime, which is, I think Tony Romo said it was the lowest scoring game in the NFL season at halftime at that point.
Yep.
Yeah.
It being 3-0. It was definitely a quiet start to the game.
Mm-hmm.
Not a whole heck of a lot happened in that first half. I mean, things occurred, but really not much substance there.
So as always, we'll go deeper into our game analysis, just giving you a little sneak peek there. Speaking of quiet, it's nice that for the first time in a while, we don't have to talk about any Aaron Rodgers off the field drama.
That is definitely a plus. He just came in and played football.
Yeah.
What a concept.
However, we do have some other news that you want to share with the folks, my good sir.
Sure, absolutely. So, I am a shareholder currently. I got it when I was very young. The 1999, I think, is when one of the first times since like the 50s that they put it out there to be purchased, and my family was kind enough to buy me and several others one. So I technically now have 2 shares. So I get to say that I'm an owner of the football team.
Yeah, when Luke says it's his team,
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, my Packers.
Yeah, I mean it.
It literally is
Correct.
his Packers. For those of you
Correct.
who somehow don't know, the Packers are the only team in the NFL that is publicly owned.
The only professional sports team, period.
Thank you for clarifying. So yeah, kind of a big deal. It's pretty cool that you're literally the owner of the Packers.
I am. And now you can also be the literal owner of the Packers, because I believe tomorrow more shares are going on sale for the first time since last time.
Yeah, I think it was like 2011 I saw an article.
I think 2011.
I got to give a big shout out to one of our good friends and a big supporter of the show, Mr. JP Lucero, who called me out of the blue at like 2:30 this afternoon, giving me the details because I know he's also somebody, big Packer fan.
Yep.
Isn't a shareholder yet, has wanted to be for a while. So I was looking online. I think the time where it goes live is like 8 or 9. When we talked on the phone, he was telling me that he read that they're not expecting a whole lot of people to be jumping in on this.
You never know.
They're going to keep the shares open till like February, which I'm thinking
There's no way they last that long,
there's no
right?
way. No, I'm going to look it up tonight, solidify to know when exactly like the trading period opens up.
Yeah.
When the trade deadline starts, whatever you want to call it, the reverse trade deadline.
Right.
I'm gonna set my alarm. I'm gonna have all my banking information ready to go, and
Be ready to go.
I will hopefully join you tomorrow.
That would be great. That would be great. I mean, I don't know if we need to put that in like a little byline or something for our podcast, but we own the team we're talking about. Is that bias? I don't know. Maybe it is.
Separation of church and state.
I don't know where we go with that, but that's okay. I'll take it, and I would be proud to have you and also hopefully JP join the little exclusive club with like millions of others. But I'll take it. Now, you don't really get much with it besides you get to say that you're a shareholder, but that's enough for me, honestly.
I know my dad is or was. I guess it's for life, right?
I mean,
Like,
you
once
don't
have it.
unless you can technically like give them to family members, but that's it.
I've seen
Or sell them back.
I've seen the plaque in his basement.
Yeah.
In our basement. So
Yeah, I got like 7 plaques in the basement currently. One from all of my family members.
So you get something, but yeah, it's really just
You get to go to a
bragging rights.
meeting every July.
That's right.
You get to vote for positions and people that you have no idea who they are.
Well, as much as we complain about the Packers front office, or I guess more so used to than now.
Yeah. I mean, you
Our
don't get
voices
to
can be
vote on
heard.
if Goot gets a contract extension, but it's more like a board of directors type of scenario. But yeah.
If only, you could like stand and make your point. Hey, Gutekunst, remember you drafted this guy, a Jordan Love guy? Too soon? Too soon?
Hey. Yes, too soon. So hopefully tomorrow, hopefully next week, we can talk about that a little bit, how we are both owners.
I hope so. I'm a little skeptical. I was telling JP, I was like, dude, I think the website's gonna crash. I think so many people are gonna try to buy it once that's just gonna crash.
I mean, maybe, especially with our dozens of followers that we just told about this, it could be we could single-handedly make it crash at that point.
So yeah, we're breaking. We have our news breaking Packer analysis
Yeah.
as always, and now I hope that you guys too, our loyal listeners, go become owners of the Packers.
Honestly, I'm hoping I didn't read what they're doing it for, like what the point is, where all this money's going. I'm hoping it's for more seating for the sole purpose of lowering my spot in the season ticket wait list, because there are 18,000 people in front of me currently, and I've been on the list for 25 years, like basically my whole life, and there's still 18,000 people in front of me.
I wish I knew how many people were in front of you when those tickets were purchased. Any idea?
I could look it up. I got all the things, but more than that, because it was pre-renovation to Lambeau, so that cut it out by a big chunk, and then the recent seat adding helped as well, get me below 20,000.
You're working your way up, slowly
Yeah.
but surely.
Yeah, my kids will love it. I'm not sure I'll be alive, but
Yeah, I was gonna say that, but didn't want to sound that morbid this early in the show.
that's okay.
All right, back to Seattle we go.
Yeah, back to Seattle.
Whew. All right, so this game, a little bipolar, right? We can start with the anemic offense, or
Which one?
Which one?
Ours or theirs?
I mean, I was also thinking about ours,
Okay,
right? I
okay.
don't really care about Seattle, or we can talk about our stellar defense.
Let's start with the anemic offense. Let's
Okay.
start there.
All right, so we did have a good start, though, right? On that first
We did.
drive, we did
Yeah.
hit my boy Randy Moss. I'm sorry, I mean Marquez Valdez-Scantling. They're just so similar. I get them so confused.
All right, calm down there, bud.
They're both 6'5". They're both really fast. They both,
One can catch, one can't. I mean, they're twins.
I'm sorry, is this 2018? I'm pretty sure that Marquez has proven that he can catch.
All right, we'll see.
Do I need to bring up again
We'll see, Devin.
who was one of the only Packer players to show up in the NFC title game?
Oh, I'm aware.
Yeah,
I'm aware.
I'm not surprised because he showed up and he played out. Anyways, so big shot to Marquez that doesn't lead any points. I think we had a holding call, maybe a sack on that drive that pushed us to fourth down.
Yeah.
And we were on, I don't know, 35-yard line. We were in what would be field goal range, and on trotted the Silver Fox.
Silver Fox.
Luke, I'm really hoping that the Silver Fox is not the reason that we get silver in the NFC this year. But as
I see what
weeks
you did there.
progress, thank you. As weeks progress, that's a thought that is more and more apparent in my head.
Yeah, it's a little disconcerting that he missed another kick. I don't know what the problem was. I'm not going to go back to... We don't need to rehash the punter and the being the holder and the long snapper and all that stuff. Yeah, I don't feel great about our field goal kicking at the moment. So that's, like I said, disconcerting is probably the best way to put it. When he misses in bunches.
But he made his other attempt late in the day, which was nice to see.
He did. I don't know how to feel about this inconsistency. It makes me nervous going forward. Maybe we just go for every fourth down. That'd be fine.
Especially after the NFC title issue last year.
What we
That
did.
LaFleur got a lot of flack for.
Yeah.
He has been much more aggressive this year.
He has been. So maybe don't kick any more 50-yard field goals for a while or anything like that. As long as it's not 4th and 12 or something like that, then you do it anyways because it's still the right call. But yeah, if it's close, if you're 4th and 5 and under, maybe you just go for it. Go for it for a little bit until you see Mason make some kicks to kind of build that confidence up. Not only his confidence, but the team's in him.
It just has to be such a fragile line, right? Because think about it from the reverse side. If you're in those situations where it's normally like an easy kick, even if it's 4th and 5 on the 32 or whatever, and you choose to go for it,
Right.
It's sort of like that whole thing with Amari Rodgers last week, right? Where after his muff, the special teams coach, or LaFleur went to the special team coach and was like, yo, you need to pull him. And the special team coach was like, no, let's get his confidence up. Let's
Right.
show that we have faith in him.
Right.
Let's send him back out there.
Yeah.
We'll have to see if that's going to, if going forward on fourth down as opposed to putting Mason out there to kick could make his confidence even lower.
It could, and quite honestly, I don't think that's what we're going to do. I think if LaFleur kept going back to Mason in the Cincinnati game,
Like 17 times.
yeah, I think he's just going to keep trotting him out there. I think at this point, it's going to take a while for us to actually get to that let's go for fourth down all the time scenario. Because I think that you just got to work through it, I guess, is at least what we're going to go with. You just got to work through it, and hopefully it doesn't cost us. It didn't, obviously, this week, but it did last week, so who knows?
It was a pretty unmemorable entire game offensively, especially in the first half, only putting up 3 points. It looked like Rodgers had missed 10 days of practice. Maybe there was a little COVID fog still, but he just did not look himself, and thus the offense was not in sync.
Right, and his stats look pretty decent. I mean, outside of the pick, which is kind of boneheaded. That's not a Rodgers pick. Like, when he threw the ball as he got hit, I was like, oh, this dude's got to be wide open. It's the only way he'd throw that ball. Nope, pick. But 23 for 37, 292 yards. If you throw 3 touchdowns, no picks, you're thinking that's a great game, right? But there's a lot of empty calories. A lot of empty calories there, which is actually the opposite of Aaron, right? How many games this year does it feel like he's been held under 200 yards, but it's like, oh, it was a good game, or under 250? Oh, it was a good game. He made some good throws when we needed them, blah, 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 right? I mean, he threw for almost 300 yards, and we're talking about like, this is probably one of the worst games of the year for him.
Yeah, numbers can be deceiving.
They can be.
I was a little surprised you didn't talk about that interception a little bit more, especially because he was going towards Josiah, and originally it looked like he was hoping for like a jump ball situation. And as you have clearly pointed out, Josiah DeGuara is like 6'1", 6'2".
He's not that guy.
He's not going to be Mr. Big Box Out tight end.
No.
So I was kind of cringing when I saw the interception.
Yeah, I think if that's Big Bob, it's probably not a pick, right?
I did catch Rodgers after the game, and he was explaining that one. He blamed himself for it, but he said that he was trying to just throw the ball over their head, like over Josiah's head, and then it was hit as he thrown, so it flutters. So the interception looks a lot uglier.
It was an attempt at a throwaway. That makes a lot more sense.
And I feel better about it.
I do. So we're going to, even if that is not the truth, we're going to roll with it. It's going to make me feel better going forward.
I'll take it. I mean, he had a couple nice runs also that were called back via penalty that were drive killers. I think there were
He had a couple scampers.
At least 2 like 10-plus first down runs that were then turned into holding calls, and then those drives ended without a first down. He was sacked 5 times. So like we said, not one of his best games, not one of the offensive best games.
No, but if we can win games where we don't play well, that's very important going forward. Because if we're going to run into some challenging situations where everything's not going to go great, right? You should only be able to power through, find ways to win. Obviously, we could talk about it a little bit more in depth, some of the injuries, but, right, Aaron Jones goes down, A.J. Dillon steps up. And by all accounts, a great game by A.J. Dillon, right?
Talk about numbers lying. He only had 66 yards on 21 carries. It just doesn't sound right.
Exactly what I was going to bring up. Like, he looked great, right? I mean, looked like a snowplow out there.
Especially the goal line touchdown.
Looked
Again,
great.
Just running through people.
Outside of those tutties, that's a terrible stat line.
We were texting about the it wasn't even a screen pass. So it was just a
Swing pass, yeah.
Swing pass. Running back goes out in the flat. He's one of the last reads of the play. Rodgers dumps it off to him. Makes a guy miss with a shiftiness, and then tiptoes 50 yards down the sideline.
Does a little spinny ballerina scenario there. I mean, it was great. I thought for sure he was going to step out. And the nimbleness and agility on that play, I think, was really what stood out. He has great hands, too. I feel like he hasn't dropped a ball yet this year.
It was a tough catch, especially for a running back. They're not known for making catches that aren't really right in their lap.
Right.
And this is something that critics brought up when we drafted him. This guy, A.J. Dillon, he's just going to be a bruiser. He's not really nimble. And in Boston College, they didn't use him out of the backfield.
Pretty much at all.
Yeah, so people assumed that he couldn't do it. And, I think that early on, the Packers like, well, we're gonna test him. We're going to find out what he can do. And the addition of his contributions in the pass game, I think, has really taken his game to another level this year.
I agree, and it seems, like I said, he doesn't drop anything. It seems like he has great hands, and he's able to make that first guy miss. And I think that's important because frequently when the running back gets the ball out of the backfield like that, there's going to be one guy, essentially, that either makes that a 2-yard play or an 8-yard play. Can you get around that guy in the flat, whatever the safety or corner or whatever's kind of coming up to take care of you? And I think how big he is, in like we said, that agility, that's a really interesting combo that's pretty hard to find.
If you can get him out in the open field, guys, we're seeing him on the goal line, and you have defensive linemen or linebackers trying to tackle him, and they're getting pushed back. Yeah. If you get him out in the flat in the open field, and you have little corners or even some safeties, you're going to have people making big business decisions because you see that train chugging down the tracks at you, good luck.
That's kind of what it looked like on that long 50-yarder too, right? Like some people kind of just flailed at him. Like it felt like they didn't really want to go in there and deliver a blow. And that's just what you get from being such a big, strong guy. And he continues to build that kind of reputation. It's just going to get worse. Better for us, worse for the defenders, I feel like. Mm-hmm. So, especially with Aaron Jones out, I'm really interested to see what he does in the next week or two.
So, little injury update. I believe it was ESPN reported that it sounds like Aaron Jones escaped with just a sprained MCL, so he'll be out for hopefully 1 to 2 weeks.
Good news.
There was reports that on the sideline after he went down, he was in tears. He went to his family, and he was sobbing. So I know I was thinking originally he was done for the season. So as you said earlier, Dillon stepped up, was then the bell cow, which
right.
A lot of us kind of expected that he was going to be this season, right? I think a lot of us felt before we re-signed Aaron Jones that Jones was probably going to walk, and then it was going to be the A.J. Dillon show.
With Jamal as a backup, yeah.
Jamal as the backup. I'm happy we kept Jones, but I was not nervous about Dillon having to be the bell cow for the rest of that game, and I'm not for the next couple of weeks either.
No, I'm excited to see what it looks like. Obviously, we got a taste of it last year with the Titans game, and he looked incredible, right? And if we're being honest, it almost feels like he's been the better back the last couple of weeks. I think. At
least purely running the ball, I completely agree with you.
Right, he's looked better running the ball, and I love Aaron Jones, UTEP, and I always will. Mm-hmm. And his explosion is second to none, at least on our team. His ability to make plays is phenomenal. But A.J. Dillon's looked better running the football. He's getting better yards. He's getting harder yards. Maybe some of that changes when we get the full O-line back. Maybe the holes are a little bit bigger, a little bit easier for Aaron Jones to get through. But if you're getting hit closer to the line of scrimmage, A.J. Dillon's the one you want back there.
Definitely. And I was interested to see what and who was going to come in to spell A.J. Dillon, because you can't have your running back just playing
every
single down. That's how you get somebody more hurt. So it was Mr. Patrick Taylor, who was a guy that I believe beat out Dexter Williams.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, we were both not fans of. Dexter Williams was a long-time Packer. He'd been on the team for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, always just kind of on the fringe. I think he was a straight-up running back 3 for a full year. It just didn't do anything.
He was
ever.
2 yards at best and not good in pass protection, so just pretty worthless.
And I believe almost a direct quote from while I was watching the game and texted you was, Patrick Taylor doesn't look terrible.
Yeah, we're not expecting you to be great, but just don't be worthless. Don't be a waste of a carry. And
correct.
And he looked good. I didn't love him either in preseason. I thought he looked a little slow, like a little bigger frame and slow,
but not particularly powerful either.
Exactly. Yeah. And he looked to have trimmed down a little bit. So if he gets 5 carries this week against Minnesota, I think he'll be fine. Just don't fumble. Don't be Dexter Williams, 2 yards worthless. That's all you can ask for.
Absolutely, and I think something that we need to look forward to. Now would be the perfect time to throw out some interesting new wrinkles, right?
Are you saying like maybe do something with Cobb or Mr. Amari Rogers?
Oh, I think maybe not Cobb. I think the Cobb in the backfield experiment went horribly under Mike McCarthy every time.
Yeah, but you're the one who always wants to get creative with him in the backfield.
Oh, absolutely,
So I thought that
absolutely.
was going to be right up your alley.
It 100% is, and you were half right. But I think Cobby may be a little old for that game. Maybe. But Amari Rogers, absolutely. I think maybe we do a little something. Maybe we bring back more jet sweeps. We give him the ball a couple times like that. Motion him into the backfield. Run a screen with him. Something like that. Leak him out. Whatever. I think it's a good opportunity to get some more of that involved. Because it still feels like we haven't seen a lot of that, right? Like we haven't really used Cobb creatively. And we haven't really used Amari Rogers at all.
Except for being a little disappointing on the special teams. Yeah,
Correct.
We haven't seen him for anything.
He was all right this game.
Yes.
He didn't do anything bad, so we're going to take that. But yeah, that's my hope. I hope that we see maybe something a little interesting that we haven't seen so far this year with him. We just a little bit more Swerve and Irvin action, just with Amari Rogers.
Second week in a row. Tyler Irvin, if you're out there.
We're going to petition for you to come back.
Come home.
RB3 is open for at least a week.
This would be a perfect. I mean, you were saying like, hey, we should sign somebody for a couple weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like at least pull somebody up from the practice squad, send somebody off the street. I mean, Adrian Peterson literally was doing absolutely nothing and ended up being running back 1 for the Titans in a week. So there's got to be somebody out there that's at least worth a spot on the bench.
I'm not going to Google it right now, but I'm pretty sure Tyler Irvin is a free agent.
I mean, he's got to be, right?
Bring him back. Bring him
back. But although if AP can come back, are there any other people we can bring back from the grave? What's LaDainian Tomlinson doing? If we're just going to take all-time greats that are way over the hill.
See, I was going to like Packer backs we were going to talk about.
Amon Green for the 3rd time.
Wouldn't be against it.
What's Ryan Grant up
What
to?
about Varane Morency?
Okay, I was going to pick good ones.
Hey, he was good for a game, I think. Wasn't he? No, he wasn't the doctor. Who was it? Sam Kangado.
Yeah, no, I would 100% take him back.
He was the doctor.
In a second.
Yeah, I mean, his cuts were surgical. I remember that.
Yeah, because he played in that year where we were on like running back 12.
Yeah, I think Amon Green got hurt. And
Literally, he was like running back number 8 or something that year. But yeah, there's got to be somebody. Ryan Grant. Najee Davenport.
Oh, Najee Davenport. Tony Fisher. Backfields of the past. And most of our listeners are like, what in the hell are they talking about? Can we come back to the present day Packers? For once, it's me that's going to be reeling us in, folks.
Let's bring it back in, no problem.
You're welcome. All right. So, it was a 3-0 game at halftime that we talked about.
Yeah.
Which we discussed the lackluster offense.
Mm-hmm.
But if you noticed, the defense didn't give up any points by halftime. The rest of the game.
I was going to say 3 is more than 0, though. So we were doing better than them. That's how math works.
Math lessons brought to you by Luke. So, guys, it's South of the Cheddar Curtain. We bring you so many life skills. You're welcome. This isn't just a football podcast.
You're welcome.
All right. Defense. What's the first thing that pops in your mind about defense in this game, Luke?
Adrian Amos, man. I know that's not where you're going. I know where you're going. But I'm going to talk about Adrian Amos for a second. Right?
No, because thump the table for him. He deserves it.
Last week, right, I mentioned that Savage is running around like a madman, just flying around, heat-seeking missile. And Amos is back there doing whatever Amos does. Nobody's calling his name, and that's fine, right? No news is good news sometimes from a safety.
Mm-hmm.
The exact opposite of that this week. He should have had 3 interceptions.
I was just going to say that. Should have had 3 picks.
All of them would have been in the end zone. So interesting.
And at least one of them, the reason why he didn't get the pick is because him and Savage collided.
Yep,
because they
Savage
were both in the perfect position to make the play.
Yeah, that would have been picked by either one.
That's fine. I'm okay with that. Like that's a good pass break up on your own teammate. I'm fine with that.
My favorite one was the actual interception. Not because it was the actual interception.
It's a little obvious there, buddy.
No, but I just thought it was hilarious that it looked like he didn't jump at all. He just kind of like reached over, just kind of like put his hands up and caught the pick on top of the guy. So I loved that. But Adrian Amos just somehow covering the entire back end of the defense. All of it.
Especially, I think a lot of those were against Tyler Lockett, who's an absolute burner.
Yeah.
Not saying Amos is slow, but
He's not that fast.
he's not that fast.
No. So I thought that was super interesting. And also just shows you a little bit what we're doing on defense. The fact that for most of those, it was Amos back there. And Savage was the next closest person, right?
Yeah, so
Nope.
they're leaving him high and deep. Not by himself, but just one or two. Just them.
And no cornerbacks in sight. Nobody. It's not like Stokes was running back there with him or whatever, or Sewell Douglas or Sully. I mean, so they're just leaving the safeties back there. And it's working.
It's like some weird form of cover two, but they play man underneath. I guess if they go far enough, you let them go. I don't know.
I don't know either, but it's working. And the fact that all of that happened in the end zone. Yeah, Russell Wilson didn't look great, right? We're going to give some props to our defense for that. And some of those throws, I don't necessarily know what he was doing, but Amos was always in position.
Mm-hmm.
Always in position. Should have had 3 picks. I mean, what a game. What a game for that guy. Defensive MVP.
Yeah, I completely agree. He's someone, like you said, who's a little unheralded, right?
Yeah.
This guy, he's always just in the right position. If you look back to his days in Chicago, where it was him and Eddie Jackson, those were the best years of Eddie Jackson's career.
Yeah, he's fallen off since then.
Because
Hard.
you had a consistent safety in Adrian Amos who could cover the back,
Yeah.
and then Eddie Jackson could come up and jump on routes.
Mm-hmm.
He could kind of spy a little bit, be out of position, because he knew that he had the great eraser that Adrian Amos is.
Which is wild to think about. Also, can we go back in time for a second and remember the unofficial haha for Amos trade? Man, we won that.
I'm so glad HaHa's gone. One good game as a Packer.
I think
One.
he's on the Raiders practice squad currently, is what I heard.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Amos just balling out.
Don't miss HaHa
No,
at all.
not at all.
I mean, like, the name was cool when we drafted him. Like, I remember
100%.
laughing about that.
His rookie year was pretty good.
I remember he balled out in the Seattle PTSD game.
Yeah.
Shivers. But that's it.
Yeah, pretty much. So back to Amos. Amos, absolutely phenomenal game. Proud of him. Really excited about the secondary as a whole, which I know you're about to get into a little bit more. But yeah, just great. Savage made some plays too. Managed to piss DK Metcalf off, so that's always a positive. That was hilarious.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So
Shout out to Henry Black.
shout out to Henry Black, who I think got punched in the face. So DK Metcalf got so frustrated with our defensive backs. For those of you who don't know, DK Metcalf is a 6'3", 6'4", just absolute behemoth of a man who plays for the Seahawks.
Yeah, I mean, he looks like a defensive end
Yeah.
playing wide receiver. He's the fastest guy in the field.
Huge, just a physical specimen.
Yeah.
And between Rasul Douglas and Kevin King and just our middle of the road cornerbacks, I mean, Jair's not out there. We know that.
Right.
They were able to frustrate him so much that towards the end of the game, he, in a string of 10 seconds, he hit one of our players in the face mask, grabbed a couple of them, and then the funniest part of the whole thing is, so they throw him out of the game. He goes to the sideline, and then a play or two, he either faked like he didn't hear that he was called out, or just tried to fool him. Tried to come back in the huddle like, bro, you're 6'5".
You're not gonna hide.
You're not gonna hide. You know,
I loved that. I loved the fact that he tried to come back in. That was amazing.
But,
and then got kicked out.
even post game, the floor was like, yeah, shout out to Henry Black. Who was he my guy on defense? I think he was. He hasn't done much this year, which is okay.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. We haven't blamed him for anything.
Exactly. Like you said, sometimes no news is good news.
Correct.
But yeah, I mean, shout out to him for keeping us cool. It was good.
I thought that was a great moment there at the end. So, question for you. Because I know you're about to talk some cornerbacks.
We are going to talk some cornerbacks.
Let's talk snap counts for a second, right? What cornerback played the most snaps on Sunday?
Ooh, all right.
You got some choices.
Yes, we do have our choices. So it could be Eric Stokes, the rookie, who's our best corner. It could be Shannon Sullivan in the slot. It could be Kevin the King. It could be
Rasul, obviously.
Rasul Douglas. It's probably not going to be Shamar Jean-Charles, thankfully.
I did see him on the sidelines, though. I did see him on the
He's
sidelines.
just a little guy. He's a good teammate. He always cheers. All right. I'm going to go Shannon Sullivan.
You're correct. Yeah, he played 61 snaps. One more. than Stokes. So I just thought that was interesting.
I mean, he is the slot guy.
He's the only one we got besides Gene Charles.
We've kind of flirted with putting King in the slot. I think that in the few weeks the King was out, Sully really stepped up his game in the slot.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with Sully being solely in the slot, and then we kind of lately do a rotation with King and Douglas, and now that Stokes is back, him as well.
Yeah, no, I'd like that. Keep him fresh and everything. Just found that interesting. That's not what you would necessarily assume, right? You think it'd probably be Stokes.
I think if Stokes doesn't tweak his knee last week, then it definitely is.
It probably is. Yeah, but that rotation I'm also fine with if all three are going to play great. I want them all on the field.
So speaking of Stokes, if you all remember, there was another snowy game happened around 11 months ago where there was a speedy receiver who ran right past the coverage in a key moment before halftime in a certain NFC title game. Mr. Scotty Miller ran right by Kevin King.
Barrington's own. I know that one hurts.
I can't even go with you on that one.
That one hurts.
Are you allowed to say that for players on other teams?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I love him. He's a short, speedy dude, so, I mean, he has a soft spot in my heart outside of that play.
So when Tyler Lockett, the reason I'm bringing this up, folks, is that when Tyler Lockett goes deep in the first half on a post, not a post, I'm sorry, it was just a go, just like the Scotty Miller route in the snow. It just kind of gave me shades back to Scotty Miller in the NFC title game, which was a major play in that game. Felt like it kind of turned the game.
Yeah, pretty much.
Eric Stokes is with Tyler Lockett, one of the fastest guys in the league, stride for stride.
Oh, step for step right there with him. Right there with him. So I agree. And that's the kind of thing we've been talking about all year with Stokes, right? Even the plays he's given up, he's been right there.
Yeah.
He doesn't just get burned and then gets eaten alive and is off screen, Kevin King.
No. I was just going to say, here comes a Kevin King joke, but we're going to stop it right now.
We can do that.
It's time for a mini rant.
Mini rant time. Oh, God.
Now, Kevin King has done a lot of bad things in his career.
The last 2 weeks, though.
Last 2 weeks, though. So what followers of the show don't know. Was it last year or 2 years ago? We went to a game.
That was 2 years ago.
It was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
When we played the Washington Dwayne Haskins.
We did.
Also, the day of Big Bob's first career touchdown.
Which we were there for.
Which
was wonderful. So.
You hated it at the time.
Just because of your whole McHenry Zone crap was annoying then, and some things never change. Anyways. So our good friend JP, like I said, big supporter of the show. Me and him, and it really came out in that drive to Lambeau. We had a big rivalry.
Yeah.
He was saying the Jair was better than Kevin King, and I think that was the year that Kevin King led the team in interceptions.
Could be. Yeah.
So I was all aboard the Kevin King train.
All aboard.
I was the only person on the Kevin King train.
You were.
No, we really thought he was a stud back then. Or
could be.
Could be.
Yeah.
Had the makings of, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then, play dips a little bit the past 2 years. He's kind of the scapegoat for the NFC title game, as you just mentioned. At least a few plays were definitely not his best. But he's been playing his ass off.
Yeah, he's been playing
the past couple of weeks.
Really well. Last week with I don't even want to call it a drop pick because that would have been a really, really hard catch to make, but was in position, right? Could have made that catch, but he was in position. And then this week with the pick in the end zone.
Which I think he was covering DK Metcalf, was he not?
Yeah.
Who's an absolute physical freak. Like, correct. That's on paper, that is a perfect matchup for Kevin King, but most Packer fans would cringe at the thought of Kevin King covering DK Metcalf.
I mean, I still kind of do, but that's okay. Scars take time to heal.
They do.
Scars take time to heal.
And I understand that.
He's playing great. So I love that. And it just strengthens our secondary, right? At this point in time, it feels like we have one of the stronger secondaries in the league. When we add potentially the best cornerback in the league to that group, whenever JR comes back.
And if we add one of the best pass rushers in the league to help the front.
I mean, man.
Licking our chops.
This defense. We have a defense, guys. We have one. For the first time in 11 years.
Where is the hole?
The first thing that popped in my head, right, was inside backer, because that's been the answer forever, but it's clearly not. Devondre Campbell's great.
That's exactly why I asked it, because you have Devondre Campbell, great. Chris Barnes is a thumper right next to him.
Yeah, secondary's great. I think it would be pass rush, outside backer. It's going to be D-line, outside backer, but that has more to do with injuries than anything else. Especially with Whitney Merciless going down. Sounds like for the season, right?
Yeah, so Whitney Merciless tore his bicep. So out of the 3 Packer injuries last night, he was the only one who was going to be gone long term.
Right.
The other one was Rashawn Gary, who that was definitely a scary moment.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, we weren't the only Packer fans holding our breath for that one. Sounds like he hyperextended his elbow, and reports are he shouldn't miss time. They're just going to brace it up and
get after it, which is good because without Merciless, I mean, Merciless was the guy brought in because our backer depth was getting so thin.
So it'll be interesting to see. I know that we let go of Ladarius Hamilton,
Yeah.
who was a guy that we signed off the street to be the 4th outside linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
We let him go, I think, last week, so we could activate Bakhtiari. So maybe we bring him back, maybe we bring in somebody else. Something to watch.
We're going to have to do something.
They've been doing kind of like a 2-and-2 switch. So on early downs, they would have Garvin and Merciless.
Mm-hmm.
And then in passing situations, they would have Preston Smith and Mr. Rashawn Gary.
It's good to have Preston Smith out there to play some cornerback. I'm so glad we don't do that this year. That was just a last year thing.
Well, it was even worse when we had Ladarius Hamilton out there playing cornerback. Talk about PTSD.
Yeah,
I don't want to see that again.
That was rough. But, I mean, that's got to be the whole, right? And it's not even our fault. I think it's actually one of the strengths of the team if everyone's there. Because then you're dealing with Gary or Preston being your number 2 and 3 outside backers. You're loving that. And if Merciless was there too, woo. But injuries have kind of ravaged that position.
And if we're talking about pass rush, though, we can't forget. God, I can't believe I'm saying this.
Here we go.
You know, Dean Lowry this week.
Rockford Zone.
Thank you. I forgot which own he was from, but I was going to try.
You're going to remember one of these times.
Rockford's own, Dean Lowry.
Yeah.
Just bull rushed one of their guards, and they somehow called a holding penalty on it as they both fell to the ground. Not really sure how that happened, but
Don't know.
good job, Dean Lowry.
Yep,
right?
100%.
You obviously, the big stat for defensive linemen is sacks,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think something they need to really give more credit for is holds against.
I agree because if anything, they can be more disruptive.
Or at least equally as.
Equally, yeah. Depending on the situation and how deep the sack is and all that kind of thing. Because a 1-yard sack is still a sack, but a holding call is 10 yards. So that's a big difference.
It's a drive killer.
It certainly can be, knock you out of field goal range, what have you. But yeah, he's making disruptive, important plays this year. And we've talked about him a ton, and I'm just going to keep talking about Rockford Zone as long as he keeps making plays.
Like we said early in the podcast, way back when we first started.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was me. It was I who said it. Lancaster, Lowry, these guys were literally just bodies. And I just wanted productivity. I wanted something. And like we've been saying, man, they're each giving us a play a game. That's all that we need.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't be happier for their growth and what it does for our team.
100% makes us stronger. It just makes that defense good. I mean, it's so nice to watch a good defense on the field.
It's weird.
That can kind of carry the load for the offense if we're out of sync, which we are, and we will be probably for another couple of weeks until everybody's back, right? But that's okay because we have that great D to lean on for a little bit, which is just, you're right. It sounds weird.
It's weird for us leaning on a defense.
It feels like I'm not talking about the Packers. I'm talking about the wrong team.
Leaning on a defense and a running game, right? That's not us. That's the big difference between us and 2010. Like, I think a lot of people want to compare this team to the 2010 team, and maybe that's hopeful aspirations.
Yeah, with all the injuries and everything similar.
With the last dance talk. But the big difference is, if you guys remember 2010, I think it was it week 1 against the Eagles that Ryan Grant's lost for the season?
Yeah.
And it was pretty Dexter Williams-esque. Brandon Jackson, 3 yards a carry. And John Kuhn, which folk hero granted, but
100%.
he was awful running the ball, except for goal line situations. But like,
yeah,
2nd and 5 out of the shotgun, no thanks.
Things really didn't start picking up till James Starks.
Not to the playoffs.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
run game and defense. Last time we had that, we won a Super Bowl. Let's do it again.
Well, last time we won the Super Bowl, we didn't. Okay.
Yeah, because for the playoff run, we had a run game and a defense.
You're right. And everyone says, that old adage about cold weather, running game, defense. We're looking to be in a good position.
Right. I mean, as weird as it sounds at this point, given the way this team is built, it's kind of like Aaron Rodgers just has to beat Ryan Tannehill. You know what I mean? Like, obviously we need him more than that in some games. We've definitely needed him more, and he's stepped up. But he's almost just got to be like a game manager, which sounds weird and feels weird. But really, that's all he has to do. Because if our run game's going and our defense is shutting people out, Aaron just has to make good decisions. And there's no one literally in the history of the league that's a better decision maker than Aaron Rodgers. So I feel pretty good about that.
You're not the only one who does. All right. So next week, we also play another hated team of ours.
Oh, boy.
We play the 4-5 Minnesota Vikings.
Coming off a big win.
They went to LA. They beat the Chargers 27-20. Kirk Cousins threw for a couple touchdowns. Devin Cook had a nice game, 24 carries, 94 yards. Justin Jefferson does what he does, goes off, 9 catches, 143 yards. Thielen, 5 for 65. I mean, with this team, we know what to expect. We know this team. Last year when they beat us, we just could not stop Dalvin Cook. And our run defense has been much improved this year.
It's so much better.
Especially with Rockford zone and Naperville zone and whoever zone.
Waiting for a little bit more Prophetstown zone. Just the whole D-line, one play. It's just going to be my guys.
Well, I hope not, because I hope that Slayton and Kenny Clark stay healthy and happy, but
maybe it's in a blowout or something. I'll take it.
But yeah, I mean, I'm feeling pretty confident against this Vikings team.
I think it's going to be really interesting because their strengths offensively are also our strengths defensively. I think if we have one weak link defensively, it's probably rushing the passer. We get a lot of pressures. We don't get a lot of sacks, right? Like our entire defense is kind of like Rashawn Gary. Makes great plays, puts a lot of pressure on the quarterback, doesn't actually get that many sacks, right? And I don't think that's a bad thing. He's a very impactful player. We have a good defense. We just don't get quite as much true pressure hits on the quarterback. We make him feel uncomfortable a lot, and we would have had a lot of sacks if the quarterback we were playing was anybody but Russell Wilson. But going forward, I want to see a little bit more out of that. And Kirk Cousins is a great place to start. Their run game, Dalvin Cook, gives us nightmares every time we play him, right? Yeah. It feels like our run defense is pretty stout. They have 2 really solid to great wide receivers. Our secondary is playing phenomenal, right? So I'm very interested to see how our defense kind of matches up against this offense.
I wouldn't be surprised if they do a lot of the coverage that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Right, where you have Douglas or King, or I guess Douglas and King would be the ones that would carry them deep, and then you let Amos or Savage pick them up later. I mean, I know that I would for sure say that Savage can keep up with Jefferson, and I would normally say that I don't know if Amos can, but I think he proved that this week.
Apparently, somehow he's just going to be standing in the end zone waiting for the football. I don't know how he gets there, but he does.
He's magnetized or something.
Just teleports his way over there. Hey, I'll take it. I don't care what it is. I'll take it. But I'm looking forward to that matchup. And then Mike Zimmer in general seems to have, I don't want to say has Aaron's number, but he always puts together a good game plan against Aaron Rodgers. Always.
Yeah, this will not, I hate to say it, I do not think this will be the get-right game for the offense.
Yeah, I agree.
A lot of A.J. Dillon.
I think this is going to be a do-enough game for the offense. Maybe 24-14 or 24-17, something like that, I think, where we find ways to put points on the board, but we're not putting up 35 or 40. I don't see it.
We just got to get through these next couple games. So we're getting healthy again, right?
Yeah.
Every day is another day closer to David Bakhtiari being back.
A huge help. Going to strengthen 2 positions on the offensive line whenever he comes back.
And now it's going to be, closer to getting Aaron Jones back and getting guys on defense back. Let's just not drop an egg to this Vikings game. Could be a little bit of a trap game, but I think that there's enough memories of Dalvin Cook from last year.
Yeah, there's enough history that I don't think it's going to be a trap game. But it's a divisional game. Weird things happen. The Lions got close to beating us there for a little bit.
Well, that was also after the Saints. It
was a terrible 6 quarters that we will never talk of again. But you just don't know, right? Divisional games are hard. They're always hard unless you're the Patriots, and then they've been easy for like 2 decades. But the rest of the league, it's hard to win divisional games. So I'm looking forward to this. I think this will be a good game. I'm just hoping we can get a little bit of that get right. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I hope we can get a little bit, at least a little bit closer. Or A.J. Dillon just runs through everybody. I'm good with that.
I would definitely not mind seeing A.J. Dillon just truck stick everybody. But I liked what you said earlier about the opportunity to sort of be more creative with the offense, right?
Yeah.
Finally get Amari Rodgers involved. If we can put more wrinkles on film, even if they're not super successful, jet sweeps or versus jet motion, whatever, it still gives other teams something to look for.
Yeah, it gives them more to think about. There's more they have to scout. There's more. It's less reps, right? That they're going to be preparing for something else. That's the way it works. There's only so many practice reps in a week. If you can steal some of those for something that's relatively minor but may give them big problems, that's a win.
Got to see the silver lining in this whole Aaron Jones injury, right?
Absolutely. I'm going to put it similar, but not quite the same as when Devontae has gone out. Historically, we've gotten more creative, right? Because we've kind of had to. I'm looking forward to that. Even if it's just more Amari Rodgers, I'll be fine with that.
Yeah, he was, third round draft pick this year? Third or second?
Third, I believe.
Yeah, I want to be getting more returns on that high pick.
I agree with you.
All right, so we did this earlier in the show, and we really have in the past couple of weeks. I think it's important for us to just kind of touch base on what some of the other teams in the NFC are doing.
Yeah, especially as we kind of inch our way closer to the playoffs, right? Some things happening now will have direct impacts on seeding and all that kind of thing. It was an interesting week for the NFC.
It definitely was.
Yeah.
So we got to give a shout out to my cousin Taylor.
We literally just played him, Devin.
Yeah. So my cousin, who's not really my cousin, Taylor Heineke. That's
Taylor
his name.
Heineke, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the Heineke, it's close to Hein, so that's why I did the whole cousin thing.
Just the icky.
Yeah. Just get rid of the icky. It's pretty icky.
Okay, let's keep her moving.
So Mr. Heineke and his Washington football team, they hosted the Buccaneers.
Boy, did they ever.
And yes, they did. So they were able to pull out a win, 29-19 over the Brady Bunch, which just helps us for playoff seeding, right?
100%, especially because Tampa Bay last week really benefited from the bye because all of the other top seeds in the NFC lost, right? So they kind of got to pick up a little ground while not doing anything. Well, now it was their turn.
Always happy to watch them lose.
Always.
I mean, watching a Tom Brady-led team lose is always good, but especially when it helps us, even better.
Perfect.
Another NFC top contender, the Cardinals, which we did beat last week or 2 weeks ago. Pardon me. They hosted the Panthers, who were juiced by the return of Cam Newton, and even though Cam, I don't think he started the game. I think P.J. Walker was still starting for the Panthers.
P.J. Walker still played the vast majority of snaps.
34-10, Panthers of the Cards.
Yeah.
So even though
Kyler Murray, but yeah.
No Kyler Murray, which is definitely why contributes to them only putting up 10 points. But that's another contender that is now, another step further below us.
Right, because we hold the tiebreaker on that one. Really, the only main one, if I'm not mistaken, that looked good were the Cowboys. And whatever that was, good Lord.
43-3 whooping over the Falcons?
Yeah, it seemed like the game wasn't out of reach. And then I walked away and came back a couple minutes later, and it was like 34-3 at halftime or something. I'm like, what just happened? Man, it was like 14-3. I stepped away for like 5 minutes. Boom. Now I have CD Lamb and a couple fantasy teams, so I was fine with that part of it. But they looked good.
If there's one team that I would pick to have the seed over us, it would be the Cowboys.
You're thinking them? Finally. I feel like this every year. Oh, it's the Cowboys. But they look pretty good.
I'm not saying I believe in them, but I'm saying if there's one team that I want to go to, like for the NFC title game, let's just say, it's the Cowboys. You want to know why that is?
Oh, yeah.
I want to go into Mike McCarthy's house.
Oh, that'd be great.
And just beat the shit out of him.
Plus, we have pretty good luck at Jerry World.
I either mean that with the Packers or with me. I'm just kidding. No battery. Kidding. But I would like that.
That would be fun.
I think that would feel better for me, even more than like beating the Bucks.
See, I don't know if I agree with that. I would like some revenge on last year.
We could double dip. We could have both.
I mean, we could. That'd be fine. If we could somehow beat the Cardinals, the Bucks, and them. I mean, it's not going to happen because hopefully we're the 1 seed. We don't play that many NFC teams. But if that could happen, that'd be great. Because there's something I don't like about all of them. I don't actually dislike the current Cardinals team. I just hate every other time we've played the Cardinals in the past.
Yeah, when we go to the desert, things in the playoffs, things do not go well.
No, and they get really weird.
Yeah, they're really emotional games.
Yeah.
Honestly, when we go west in the playoffs in general, those games are really hard.
Yes, let's just not do that. All right. Rams, looking at you.
Yeah, I got to say, with the Rams getting Odell, I was getting real nervous. So thankfully for us, not thankfully for Robert Woods, but he tore his ACL, right? So he's out for the season.
Yeah. How fortuitous was that, by the way? That he tears it like 12 hours after Odell signs. Jeez.
Yeah, that could have been a completely different team if they didn't sign Odell.
Yeah, because then Van Jefferson's your number 2. Great player, but
it's a bit of a drop off. Yeah. And then you can just double cover Cooper Kupp and load the box.
I mean, can you? Can you double cover Cooper Kupp? I assume people have tried that this year.
I think it's easier if you don't have
Robert Woods out there.
Robert Woods, thank you.
It'll be interesting. I'm actually really looking forward to them playing tonight. Kind of getting a glimpse of all that.
Who are they playing?
That's a good question. That's a good question. But
they're playing the Niners. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So go Niners. Let's go, George.
Absolutely. The fighting Kittles.
I gave you tips to help you get through college, and you brought me booze. So let's go.
Let's go, George Kittle.
I need you. Come on.
Let's go, Debo. Let's go, Eli Mitchell. I'm just naming people on my fantasy teams. Let's go, all those guys.
God, that feels a little awkward that we're rooting for the 49ers after.
Yeah, but they're not a threat.
Not anymore. No. I guess if I'm going to hate every team that's beat us in the playoffs in the past 10 years, I'm going to hate a lot of teams.
Those Giants.
Oh, Jesus.
They won't be a problem anytime soon.
No, they won't. No, this number 10 he will not be beating us in the playoffs anytime soon.
No.
All right, my friend. Anything else you want to add for the good of the show?
No, I think that's it. I'm really looking forward to next week. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got. It was a good week, a good game. Nothing spectacular happened, but almost at this point in the season, I'll take that. If we can just keep churning out wins, I don't particularly care what they look like, barring injury, right? Mm-hmm. Because now that we've established that we're a very, very good team, right? We've kind of gotten through some of those early bumps. It's all looking forward. It's all thinking about seeding, playoffs. Let's get everybody healthy. So I'm just looking for ways that we can kind of improve as we get closer to when we really need to peak. We don't need to peak now. We need to peak then. So we haven't yet. I'm hoping we can take steps in that direction.
Well said, my friend.
Thank you.
Alrighty, guys. As always, we really appreciate you taking the time to tune in to our podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see you next week on South of the Cheddar Curtain.
Go Pack Go.